All right, good evening. My name is Iti Leonoris. I am the director and creator of Unschooling for Decolonizers. And I'm here today to facilitate our first community workshop and introduce what Unschooling for Decolonizers is to our community. And also hoping to create a space for our community members to share and link up with each other. So before we get started, I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. I have opened the slideshow for tonight. So welcome to Schooling for Decolonizers. This is our intro workshop. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. First, we want to say that Unschooling for Decolonizers is a project sponsored by Blue Trunk Community Network and Vela Fund. So we're very excited to partner up with these organizations in order to be able to provide this call for tonight. This space is for unschooling because we are never too late to learn. The goal of our communities are to support each other's deschooling and decolonizing process, bring awareness of options available for those in an unschooling path, facilitate space for peers to recognize what are their educational needs, and to meet the collective goal of our community. It's important that all members feel safe and supported. To help everyone have the best possible experience, please take a look at our community guidelines. First, we're going to introduce ourselves. But before we do that, I want to go over our guidelines. We're going to treat each other as you would treat each other in real life. No hateful content is allowed in any way, including anything racist, anything based on one's ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, disability, or otherwise. We ask folks to be polite and communicate with respect. One voice, one mic. We want to respect the privacy of other community members. And it's okay if you do not want to interact. Feel free to message us directly if you would like to interact anonymously. Some of our topics can get uncomfortable for our community members, so consider giving a trigger warning if you believe your share falls under this. Find your comfortable space. Feel free to take time to step away from the call at any moment as your needs arise, or gather any items you need to ensure comfort during this gathering. Feel free to share any other guidelines that you would like to consider are needed. And I want to highlight that these guidelines have been inspired on a community guidelines template shared above on the link, below on the link. And as a reminder, in the event of someone violating these guidelines, we will take action to protect other members of the group. This might include a warning, or in the event of extreme or repeat behavior, the member might be banned from the community. If you experience or witness any behavior that doesn't follow our community guidelines, please contact us directly. And we have used our partner's email at admin@bluetrunkgarden.org. They'll be able to assist us with ensuring that this doesn't happen further. All reports are kept confidential, so feel free to message us directly. We will do our best to ensure safety in these groups. And now I'm gonna open the floor for intros. So I'm gonna present myself and then present our tech support who's here with me as well. My name is Itiva. My pronouns are they, him, she. I am 34 years old and I am in Osceola County, Florida. And now I will open up the floor. Folks can share on the chat box or choose to use the mic. Majay? You want to introduce yourself in the chat box?
Hey y'all, I'm Sarah. She, her, hers. I'm 27 and I'm in Orlando, East Orlando.
Hi everyone, my name's Era. They, them pronouns. I'm 45 years old and I'm nomadic currently in Arizona, joining here with my sister's support.
Hi, all. Oh, sorry, Lord.
Go ahead.
I'm Sarah. I'm in the St. Louis area on Osage land. I'm 43, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
I see some folks answering in the chat. If you can give me a thumbs up, that is okay for us to read your intro out loud. We have Amanda, she, her, 38 on Central Coast of California. And also Lord Magi, he, God pronouns in Central Florida. We have another person on the chat box. If we could get a thumbs up, if it's okay for us to read it out loud.
Yes, sorry, I can't find that button.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Reyes, she, her, 37 in Volusia County. And I'm gonna put our intro again. Is name, pronouns, age, and location. And I want to point out that today we're sharing age because we did want it to be intentional with reminding folks that this is an all age friendly type of groups. And so as we continue joining together, y'all are more than welcome to invite your youth and the elder folks that might no longer be interested in anything that had to do with schooling, believe it or not, might also want to join this. So I just wanted to share that with the group. And I see we have Gina Rodriguez, she, hers, 34, Waterbury, Connecticut. And then Lord Magi is saying 29 for age. So Lord Magi is going to be kind of helping me out with chat boxes and anything that he might see that can be answered through the chat box that y'all ask, because I will be in the sharing the presentation mode, and it'll be a little bit more difficult for me to navigate the chat box. But with that, I'm going to continue our presentation that I was sharing earlier. And so let's talk a little bit about what is unschooling. Well, there are many definitions of unschooling. In the case of unschooling for decolonizers, we understand that unschooling is an educational process rather than an educational method. This process of education can begin at any age and educational level. While we recognize mostly around homeschooling circles, unschooling is not exclusive to homeschooling and can be followed by most unschoolers, or sorry, by most schoolers. How do you go next on this? Oh, there it is. And what is decolonizing? Has anybody heard of this term before? Unschooling, actually, before I go into the next one, has anybody heard of unschooling before? Oh, I can see the screen from here again. Okay. Feel free to come off mute if y'all like, or share anything that y'all have heard, if so, of unschooling. Any response?
No. Can you read it?
No, I can't. I can see. I think the chat box from there. Okay, there it is.
Yeah,
Can you read it?
unschooling serves me as schools in nature. And
Can you read that? For me?
so yes, I would consider my family unschoolers as your school in nature and daily life.
I see. And who's this?
Sarah,
I see Sarah mentioning that. Sara Reyes, you are mentioning that you are unschooling. You're doing things in the daily life. Correct, correct. So that is kind of where we're going into today with today's conversation. Do you mind reading it a little?
I have heard era, they them. I have heard about it as I've been learning about decolonizing the last couple years, but don't know in depth about it.
Era, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because yes, within decolonization conversations, definitely unschooling is something that comes to light in those groups. So thank you so much for those shares. I am so glad you brought that up, the era, because we are speaking about decolonizing next. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, to decolonize is to free an institution, a sphere of activity, etc. So free something from the cultural or social effects of colonization. In relation to unschooling for decolonizers, we recognize that unschooling and decolonization are both ever-going processes which require constant deschooling and relearning. Now let's talk a little bit about the objective of Unschooling for Decolonizers monthly workshops. We are creating this intended to assist caregivers, parents, educators, community organizers, and those interested in unschooling with creating a baseline for their unschooling needs. This group is also intended as a peer-led environment for caregivers, parents, educators, and community organizers, with facilitating accessible educational spaces centering their experiences in the process. Additionally, we aim to have a peer-to-peer led space that allows for community interaction and further development of our knowledge. How does that sound, y'all? Is that something that some of us might be looking for or have thought about it and didn't really see a space available yet? I know that's how this kind of arose for us in our end.
Sorry, that report, yes, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about a little bit of what we're not.
Amanda Roundy, yes,
Oh.
my son is struggling.
So we have some folks responding. Can you read that again, please?
Amanda Roundy, yes, my son is struggling with school.
And I think you said,
Sarah Davenport, yes, absolutely.
thank you. Okay, and Amanda, yes, let's talk a little bit about that. I'll definitely be going into that conversation here in a second. But let me share a little bit of what we're not, and that way you can have a baseline of how can we support you. But definitely, traditional schooling or I don't like to call it traditional, conventional schooling. Youth are also able to benefit from having an environment where there's unschooling happening as well, especially in situations that we're seeing things like different understandings from the conventional schooling and what the individual youth needs are.
He said, yes, please, I want to offer something that fits his needs. I do charter for him now.
All right, well, excellent. So going into that, I want to remind everyone that we are not homeschooling exclusive program. So I am so glad that we already are seeing the effects of this need already in our #1 gathering. I'm so glad that we can meet up in this way because, right, Unschooling for Decolonizers is intended for everyone that is dealing with their own educational processes. We are not a private cyber school. So I know that some parents, some folks are looking for places for the youth to be able to gain day-to-day courses and maybe tutoring, educational environments and stuff of that nature. We are not directly a cyber school, but we can actually support some needs similar to what they would do and also link you with some knowledge of what you might have accessible in your community. Because we are based out of Florida, we want to remind those here that we are not a certified Florida evaluator, but we can link you to some here in Florida. We're not an academy. We're not a religious affiliated group, but we do respect everyone's path. We are not primary and secondary education exclusive. So this means that we do support preschool as well as college level education or technical level education type of unschooling needs. We are not curriculum, but we assist you with understanding your curriculum needs. And we're not a club, but we can definitely have fun like it. Materials. What you have. Don't let homeschooling privilege fool you into believing that we need tons of tools and resources to unschool. A lot of you already have materials for this and might not realize it. All right, and now I'm gonna open the floor for our group to share. And let's share a little bit of answers to these questions on our screen. Folks don't have to answer all of those questions. You don't have to answer any questions at all. You answer what is comfortable to you. You can answer on the chat box, or you can feel free to come off the mic and come on the mic and share out loud. But we want to bring a conversation since we're here today. What made you join this meeting today? What did you envision before you joined, and what do you have in mind after this presentation? Have you heard of unschooling before this meeting? And what are some things you would like to gain from this gathering? And as a reminder, these are gatherings that are going to be happening every month, at least every month. And as time allows and the need arises, we'll probably increase those as needed. So yeah, I want to open up the floor. so we can share a little bit about this. Anybody that would like to share, you could get off the mic, no problem.
Hi, this is Amanda. I joined today. My sibling, Era, who's on the call, came across this and suggested it as potential opportunity to help me be able to support my son. He's 8 years old. Last year we stopped doing regular school. We do a at-home charter, but he's also struggling with that. He functions with learning a whole lot different than what is set up in the regular education, and we're getting him diagnosed being on the spectrum. He has had issues with oppositional defiant disorder, but we have worked through that with some therapy, and he probably has ADHD as well. What I'm hoping to do is be able to potentially be able to do homeschool that will be able to offer him the educational outlets that would be best for him. He's very smart. He's ahead in some areas like math and reading. It doesn't seem right for me to push him to try to meet requirements, and that's why I'm interested in learning about what's going on with you.
Amanda, is it okay if I share some?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you. I am so glad you found this space. I'm not gonna say this is exactly what you need, but I feel like we probably can converse further and support a lot of the needs that you are currently having in some way. So with the unschooling path, it's very interesting because at least at the personal level, while I've been dealing with raising the youth and dealing with folks with neurodiversity, being a neurodiverse person myself, I understand exactly what you mean when you feel like you don't need to push these things when there's some other stuff that are progressing so well. And with unschooling, it kind of gives you the tools to allow for those things to happen. I think maybe like 2.5 years ago, probably through COVID, I had an aha moment, and I realized, wait a minute, who am I rushing for? My youth are learning, and so what matters is that they're learning, right? And traditional schooling is created in a model that is meant for us to be in a very fast-paced environment. It's a very ableist environment at most times. And even though it's the specialized courses that are intended for youth with neurodiversities, is still not quite there for recognizing this youth's needs, right? So I
Yes.
want to say that congratulations and realizing that those are your children's needs, and bringing those things into, okay, let's do charter, let's do this, let's do that, and being flexible and until you can pinpoint where to plug your child in, right? That's very important work, and I think is a big part of unschooling. I think my spouse and I, together with my mother-in-law, we're the ones that are kind of like the leaders in the educational needs of the youth that we have in our home. We are constantly reviewing what we need and what the youth need. And if we're not prioritizing that, then what are we even doing? So you're on the right track. And in a moment, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the one-on-ones that are available. I think you could definitely benefit from some of that. But also, as a reminder, the Facebook group, we have so much different information, videos, extra shares constantly happening. I recommend folks looking back into there because we have a lot of stuff that are already there for you.
Thank you.
Hi, so I will just follow up since on the same topic with my sister here, Amanda. I just wanted to share that I'm here in support for her and her son, and I'd love to be a part of his unschooling process. But also, I've seen the pressure that the regulations of conventional education requirements have put on my sister, like the unrealistic expectations she feels pressure to keep up with when it's not what's working, because she fears the consequences that could happen legally.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. That is a very good question. And it's important to recognize what are your state's regulations, and also realize that a lot of times, even when we're already homeschooling, we might not know everything that's happening in our community for regulations. So actually, in a moment, I'll share a link of a national organization that I found recently, that it's a homeschooling advocacy organization, and kind of helps with linking with the laws and regulations specific to your state. And again, I'll be happy to also we'll be happy to support you on that process if we do one-on-ones, because yes, it's very, very important to know what are the bare minimums that you need to be accomplishing in your specific state for you to be in regulation. But also it's important to recognize that these regulations and stipulations vary state to state, and is done purposely, and that in the sense of when it's complicated to homeschool your child, especially I know in California it's a little complicated. It's important to recognize that we need to advocate too. And so I also recommend you to link up. There's not too many, but I believe that one of the Vela Fund members is actually in California area, if that's where you're at, I believe. If I'm not
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
in California.
So let me see if I can link you out directly to these folks, because apparently I think they're like one of the first co-ops, if not the first co-op, that is happening in relation to unschooling or homeschooling out there. And so yeah, I encourage you to look into the policies and the systemic things that are happening, right? Legislations and a change of bills and stuff of that nature in your community, in your state, in your county, because you might be one that is needed for the petition signings or the meetings in the courts or on the community halls and stuff of that nature, or you might have to link up with other people that go and stuff like that, because if we don't do that, it allows for them to not really allow us to do the things that we need for our kids' education. And
Thank
I
you.
want to point out too that as a homeschooling person myself, our children are homeschooled, but we do directly work with a lot of people in the education departments here in Florida, because we recognize that there needs to be a homogeneous relationship between us, because it's all related to the rights and regulations of the well-being of our youth, right? And so, yeah, it's important to have autonomy of education for our youth. And I will definitely love to link you up with some of the folks that I know are probably doing some of the work for y'all out there in California.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Is it okay if I hop in and share?
Yes, please.
So I think I've actually been in the Facebook group for quite some time and was interested in joining the call because I am a recovering conventional educator. I taught in public schools for quite some time. And then when I had my own children, realized kind of all the harm that I was complicit in when I was in that role. And about 8 years ago, started a path to creating something else. And now a few other adults and I facilitate at a self-directed education learning center where we basically unschool in community with young people ages 5 to 18. And so the framework we use is one that directly links unschooling with anti-oppression work and liberation. And so any space I'm in where I see conversations about unschooling as decolonization come up, I feel strongly about being a part of those conversations and making connections and leaning into relationship with other folks who are doing that work. And so I didn't actually have any specific expectations about what tonight would be like, other than I was open and eager to listen and learn and hopefully connect with other people who are doing this work and doing it in a way that's also aligned with other movement spaces, other liberation spaces. And I am a mom also. I may have mentioned that. I have 3 children, 13, 10, and 6, and they have all always been unschooled. So that informs my perspective also.
Thank you so much, Sarah. If you would like to, if you would like to put the link to your community network, please feel free to do that. This is definitely a place where we want to encourage those kind of relationships and those kind of community building, because unschooling world is very unique, and it's something that is kind of up and coming, so there's not too much out there, or it's kind of behind doors type of thing. So when
Yes.
you want to, feel free to share your community, because we're here for each other for this, for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that in a moment. And I have no preconceived notions about this being a space for, advertising what I do at all. So I want to de-emphasize that and just emphasize the desire to be in community with other people who are experiencing the same struggles. And Amanda, everything that you shared about what you're navigating with your son, I really applaud you for being here and for reaching out, and also want to say that I'm so sorry that you're navigating this. And everything you shared these are stories we hear like all the time from parents who call us. It's almost the exact same story. And so I share that not to diminish your experience, but to let you know that you're absolutely not alone at all. And there's nothing wrong with your son. Nothing at all.
Thank you. I agree. I'm just trying to help him any way I can. He's a great boy, and I am learning and decolonization and learning how to approach him correctly on so many levels, just so that I'm not changing him. I've been changing me.
Yes, I hear that. Well, you're not alone. And as someone who's recently realized that I myself am neurodivergent with probably a whole entire neurodivergent family, like there's just so much unpacking. And you're gonna figure it out.
Thank you.
I'm gonna share the questions on the chat box because it's a little bit easier for me.
Sarah Waters, share the link.
Okay, I see that Sarah shared the link for your groups and your Insta. Thank you so much. And I am going to share one more time my screen. Can y'all see that? All right. Wait, it's a post. Screen share post. Pardon me.
Can I jump in and share?
Go ahead, please.
This is Sarah Davenport. I don't have any children and I'm kind of new to this. I'm a PhD student and a swimming lesson teacher. So at least for training to teach like university and high school students, there's a lot on like decolonial thinking, but nothing on like how to teach. And so I'm here because I want to learn more. I mean, I want to all same as other Sarah, the two other Sarahs in here. I also want to be part of a community and learn from folks and learn how I can incorporate unschooling into not only working with within the university. I really want to push out of that and work more with people, young people in primary and secondary school, and also thinking about how to incorporate this into my swimming lesson techniques and really building my work a lot with swimming lessons and thinking about unschooling. So I'm really excited to be able to learn from folks, and thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I'm already so filled and learning so much from everybody.
I'm gonna read out loud what Jean Rodriguez said. My kids do conventional schooling and it does move really fast for my youngest. I have not heard about unschooling before, so I'm here to learn and see what other things I can do to help my kids. Actually, I would like to.
Background, I'm hearing somebody's mic is on.
Oh, I think is everybody muted? If we can please check everybody's mic is off real quick. Okay. I want to point out though that I do think that you already are establishing some unschooling techniques into your day-to-day traditional schooling environment. Is everybody's audio okay? Can y'all hear me okay? Please give me a thumbs up before I continue.
There's some background, like someone's doing some big background.
All right, I was gonna point out that I believe that some of what you're doing already qualifies as homeschooling. I think that your eldest, is it okay if I share some of what I already recognize at unschooling that you do, even though your children traditional school, Jean, is that okay? All right, so the first thing of the back of my head that I can point out is that your eldest youth is already handling their own business, doing the t-shirt designs, creating art, having to do things with robotics. That's a lot of what unschooling is. It's kind of guiding the youth and not only the youth, but us too, as the old folks, the mentors, right? We also gotta guide ourselves and figure out what is the need that we have in our knowledge and education. I also want to point out that some of these meetings are going to be focused on us as adults needing to work through our schooling in order to achieve unschooling processes. While at the same time, some of the meetings will be focused more on things that have to do with how to actually operate our own schooling and homeschooling and traditional schooling needs at home, right? Another thing that I see that you do in the home with the youth is things like responsibilize them for their needs at home, right? Following chores and things of that nature. That creates a baseline and standards for the youth that they'll bring anywhere they go, right? You know, you have to maintain a ethics where you go, and creating those from the young is very important. And it is a form of unschooling, because unfortunately it is not something that all homes give to the youth, right? So it's important for us to realize that some of the things that we're doing in our home are possibly already unschooling us and unschooling our youth. And I am glad that some of the folks here are folks with no youth at home, but that are interested in understanding this, because I highly believe that unschooling is a process that has to happen with our generations, right? With our elders first and us, in order for it to be prosperous and successful for the youth, for the minors. Because the truth is that a lot of us have been indoctrinated, and we have some sort of baselines that are very founded in supremacy behavior, right? And so it's important to recognize those things on our own, right? Before we even try to do anything out there with our youth too. And I'm glad, like Amanda said, I'm learning first, I'm changing myself first. Yes, it's not so much changing. I think it's more like evolving and developing our traits and our skills even further. And it's important to realize that unschooling is really geared in what is the principal needs, right? And that's the foundation, because once those needs are met, then it's a lot more smoother to recognize how to move forward for the youth. Does that make sense? I know we have some yes on the chat box. So I'm gonna share this page here. I'm not gonna maximize this. Complicates my life a little too much. If that's okay with y'all, do y'all see this presentation still? Okay, thank you. So let's talk about unschooling for decolonizers and one-on-ones. The one-on-ones are sessions that are intended to assist caregivers, parents, educators, community organizers, and those interested in unschooling with centering their unschooling processes according to their individual needs. So these meetings that we're gonna have on the month-to-month basis are gonna be open forums for us to talk and chat and pinpoint where we want to move. But these one-on-one sessions are very specific and very polished to your specific need at home, at work. I heard some folks talking about bringing this into their educational spheres. So, you know, it's not necessarily something just for the youth. It also can work beyond that, right? You might be like, I'm doing great with my kids, but my job is pissing me off. And so how can we work at the unschooling process for me to be able to continue functioning in this environment, right? Like, we can talk about all these different type of things. So this is not just for people who are homeschooling. Okay, I want to keep pointing that out so that way y'all can share with others out there. There is a cost to this because as unschoolers, decolonizers, we realize that we want to establish the understanding that there's not such thing as free labor, and when people have to work unpaid, that's not cool. And so we want to respect people's time. Sometimes this, because we're tailoring this one-on-ones to y'all will also receive a tailored educator that will be linked to y'all according to the need that you have. And like, for example, there might be some folks that are in Puerto Rico and we might actually guide them to go and work a one-on-one with educators that are there rather than with us here in Florida or California or in another state. We want to try to link folks with educators as closest to them as possible. And we're trying to do things that is culturally aware of the needs of our people, right? So we also want to recognize that linking directly to the state might not be always possible, but everybody in the nation is welcome to join these calls and these meetings, and we will support you. Our current program has a limited amount of sliding scale rates that start from $20 to $85, depending the applicant needs. We also have limited amount of free sessions for families who qualify. And as a reminder, as decolonizers, we do encourage those with greater resources access to consider supporting at least partial costs to cover services for free and sliding scale applicants. And if you're interested in having a one-on-one, this is the information for you to access it. I'm also going to put it in the chat box. And it's also currently posted on our social media platforms. Y'all can link up to that Google form or text us. And that way we can begin the process to get your one-on-ones going. I want to open up the floor before we close up to share any last thoughts or comments, and to remind everyone that we will meet again next month, the last Wednesday of the month. Let me confirm that date right now. We will meet again on February 22nd, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. And anyone that's interested in becoming an educator, please also reach out to us. We are trying to get more educators involved to be doing the one-on-ones for this sessions and also the facilitations for the workshops. This is something that is intended to create a network of educators and facilitators and learners, and it's interaction that's us learning with each other kind of thing. So yeah, I want to open up the floor to share. Actually, before I continue sharing, let me stop our recording.